Truyền hình Việt Nam vùng Hoa Thịnh Đốn, chúng tôi xin trân trọng kính chào quý khán thính giả. Kính thưa quý vị, hôm nay chúng tôi xin mời quý vị theo dõi một chương trình phóng sự rất là đặc biệt về lễ kỷ niệm 50 năm kỷ niệm chiến tranh Việt Nam tại Fort Eustis, Newport News, Virginia. Kính thưa quý vị, Fort Eustis là một căn cứ quân sự lục quân cách thủ đô Hoa Thịnh Đốn khoảng 2 giờ rưỡi đồng hồ lái xe nếu mà không bị kẹt xe đi trên I-95. Thưa quý vị, trong ngày thứ Sáu 15 tháng 5 2015, một buổi lễ kỷ niệm 50 năm chiến tranh Việt Nam đã được tổ chức rất là trọng thể với sự tham dự của hơn 300 quan khách, gồm có những sĩ quan hiện dịch cũng như những người cựu chiến binh và đặc biệt là có những vị tướng hồi hưu đã đến tham dự. Người đứng ra tổ chức cho cái buổi sinh hoạt này là Đại tá William Galbraith. Ông là chỉ huy trưởng của căn cứ Fort Eustis, với sự hợp tác của những người không quân ở bên căn cứ Lunchean để cùng tổ chức một cái buổi sinh hoạt này. Thưa quý vị, chiến sĩ trận vong được tổ chức vào ngày 25 tháng 5, nhưng mà trước đó, như là hiện tại của năm nay, đã hơn trước một tuần họ đã có những cái sinh hoạt dành cho những người cựu chiến binh kéo dài trong nhiều ngày. Và tại Fort Eustis là có cả coi như là 3 ngày liên tiếp những cái sinh hoạt đó dành cho cựu chiến binh và gia đình. Thưa quý vị, nhìn ngược về thời gian chiến tranh Việt Nam rất là lâu, với sự tham dự của quân lực Hoa Kỳ, đồng minh của quân lực Việt Nam Cộng Hòa, của chính phủ, hai bên chính phủ Hoa Kỳ và Việt Nam đã hợp tác với nhau cùng chiến đấu để bảo vệ tự do cho miền Nam. Thưa quý vị, đó là một cái nghĩa cử rất là cao đẹp, nhưng vì có những cái phong trào phản chiến, vì những cái điều không hiểu của người Hoa Kỳ ở tại nội địa Hoa Kỳ trong cái thời điểm đó, cho nên những người cựu chiến binh khi đã thi hành cái nhiệm vụ của họ ở tại Việt Nam, họ trở về Hoa Kỳ, họ đã không được tiếp đón nồng hậu, đã không được hoan nghênh, không được coi xem như là những anh hùng đã trở về, không có vòng hoa chiến thắng, không có gì hết. Họ đã bị cư xử với một thái độ rất là lạnh nhạt và thờ ơ của dân chúng. Thời gian trôi qua, những người cựu chiến binh đó giờ này, họ cũng đã, tuổi đời cũng đã nhiều, tóc đã bạc. Như chúng tôi thấy, đa số là những mái đầu bạc, ngồi ở trong Officer Club trong ngày 15 tháng 5. Thưa quý vị, họ đã bị lãng quên, nhưng mà vào năm 2012, vào tháng 5, Tổng thống Barack Obama đã có nghĩ ra một cái chương trình với cái quyền của một vị tổng tư lệnh của một quốc gia. Ông đã muốn thực hiện một cái chương trình vinh danh, cảm ơn những người chiến binh Hoa Kỳ, đặc biệt là ở tại chiến trường Việt Nam, đã trở về và đã lãnh nhận những cái sự tẻ nhạt như vậy. Chương trình được bắt đầu từ năm 2012, trong mỗi năm, trong mỗi tháng 5, ngày chiến sĩ trận vong, kéo dài cho đến năm 2025, tức là 13 năm. Tổng thống Obama yêu cầu các cơ quan quân sự cũng như tất cả, coi như là toàn quốc, bất cứ những cái tổ chức nào cũng nên có làm ra những cái hình thức để vinh danh, để cảm ơn những người chiến sĩ Hoa Kỳ và gia đình họ, những người đã tử nạn, những người mất tích, những người bị thương tật và những người trở về Hoa Kỳ với một cái tâm trạng và một cái trong cái hoàn cảnh gia đình không có được trọn vẹn. Cảm ơn những gia đình họ cũng đã phải chịu chia sẻ những khổ cực, những cái mất mát với người thân, những người đã trong quân lực Hoa Kỳ tham chiến tại Việt Nam. Và đó là cái điều mà Tổng thống Obama muốn. Thi hành những điều đó, tức là cách đây 2 năm họ đã làm, và chúng ta thường tham dự lễ chiến sĩ trận vong thì chỉ thấy những cuộc diễn hành ở trên Washington DC, nhưng mà không biết được có những tổ chức khác, những sinh hoạt khác. Thì hôm nay chúng tôi gửi đến quý vị cái chương trình này để thấy cái buổi lễ kỷ niệm 50 năm. Thưa quý vị, trong cái buổi lễ tổ chức rất trang trọng, từ lễ chào cờ cho tới những cái hình thức, từ cái phương thức đón tiếp những vị tướng lãnh hồi hưu đi vào trong phòng để mà tham dự, và những cái cựu quân nhân, những người hiện dịch, những người cựu chiến binh, họ đã cùng ngồi lại với nhau để chia sẻ những cái điều mà có liên quan đến chiến tranh cũng như để làm quen với nhau. Thưa quý vị, diễn giả là những vị tướng và ông chỉ huy trưởng của căn cứ Fort Eustis, đó là đại tá Galbraith. Và một diễn giả đặc biệt nữa được mời đến, đó là ông chủ tịch cộng đồng của cộng đồng Washington DC, Virginia và Maryland đã đến, một trong những diễn giả để nói lên những gì liên quan đến chiến tranh Việt Nam, chia sẻ với những diễn giả khác. Và ông cũng là một cựu sĩ quan trong quân lực Việt Nam Cộng Hòa. Thưa quý vị, chúng tôi có cơ hội để đi vòng ở trong cái Fort Eustis để thấy được là một căn cứ rất là lớn và có một cái viện bảo tàng để trưng bày những dụng cụ, những cái vũ khí, những xe, những máy bay đã dùng trong thời chiến tại Việt Nam đã được trưng bày ở tại Fort Eustis, cái museum đó. Trong căn cứ Fort Eustis có những khu gia cư, có những khu cho những vị sĩ quan cao cấp ở, có cả những chợ búa, có tất cả mọi cái sinh hoạt ở để cung cấp những dịch vụ, những cần thiết cho những người, những gia đình của quân nhân ở trong trại. Và thưa quý vị, ngoài ra thì chúng tôi cũng được biết là cái căn cứ không quân của Hoa Kỳ, cái căn cứ Lăng Lê cũng cách Fort Eustis không có xa. Trong cái buổi lễ này, với sự hợp tác của hai phía không quân và lục quân, họ đã tổ chức cái buổi kỷ niệm 50 năm tại Officer Club. Thưa quý vị, những cái điều diễn ra chúng tôi sẽ gửi đến trong hình ảnh mà chúng tôi đã thu nhận được để quý vị xem, để thấy có những sự khác lạ, cái sự tham dự rất là đông đảo của những người sĩ quan Hoa Kỳ, những cái hình thức, và để chúng ta thấy cái sự khác biệt của quân đội tổ chức cũng như ở ngoài dân sự. Rất là trang trọng và mọi người hợp tác một cách rất là chặt chẽ. Thưa quý vị, và bây giờ chúng tôi xin mời quý vị theo dõi hình ảnh mà chúng tôi đã ghi nhận được. Kính thưa quý vị, trong buổi hôm nay, cái buổi cơm trưa hôm nay ở tại Fort Eustis, Virginia, thưa quý vị, đó là một cái buổi tiệc mà được tổ chức để nhớ đến những người chiến binh Hoa Kỳ đã tham dự vào chiến tranh Việt Nam. Và thưa quý vị, hôm nay chúng tôi có một vài phút nói chuyện với ông Larry Waters. Ông đã từng ở Việt Nam. Hi, Larry.
Yes.
This is Vietnamese television, and we're here today because we have to meet a lot of veterans, and you are one. And can you tell us which year were you in Vietnam?
I was in Vietnam from January of 69 to January of 70.
It's a long time ago. And any memory about Vietnam you want to tell us?
Well, one of the main memories that I have is I did a lot of going to orphanage, dealing with some kids that was supposed to have been American kids. So I used to go there and play with the kids and play hopscotch, jump rope, stuff like that with the kids. So that made me feel good.
So you was 1969 until 1970, and then so many things changed during the Vietnam War. And when a long time ago we didn't have that commemoration about the Vietnam War, but it just started since President Obama said he wanted to be everyone remember how the sacrifice and the people who was in Vietnam, or most of the American soldiers, and missing and then die and then come back. And so can you tell us about that? How about the people feel when you return to, and then after the fall of Saigon?
Well, when I first got back, it wasn't a great return, but after I got back, I learned to deal with it myself because I can't control how other people feel about what went on, what I went through. So what I just did was I just went in my shell and I learned how to survive on my own. And with the grace of God, I'm still living to even talk about it or live through it.
And now they want to make up for this what missing when the soldier who involved in Vietnam war coming back to this country, and now they want to do something. And so how you feel about that? They recognize that the sacrifice of or the duty you have to serve your country and for freedom.
Well, so far, I have no complaints about how I was treated since I've been back here with the VA. I've been treated well. I get good service from them. I really don't have any complaints because I'm just thankful to be alive, and that's the most important thing. I came back and I'm still living, and I'm doing better than a lot of my other comrades because I'm getting help mentally from the VA, so it's great.
Do you see any of your friends here when you was in? No.
No, I don't see any. No, none of them.
Okay. And now you reside here in.
Yes, I live in Virginia now.
Thank you so much for your sharing.
Okay, thank you also.
An AK-47 I had for a while before it got swiped.
Who used kettle drums to announce his arrival. English colonists brought the tradition to the colonies during the French and Indian War, when 2 ruffles and present arms were given for Virginia's royal governor. In 1776, the Continental Army authorized a fife and drum unit to give 2 ruffles for a major general and 1 for brigadier general. Current practice is to play ruffles equal to the number of stars a general possesses. As ruffles and flourishes are played, a gun salute will be rendered. A military salute by any post having appropriate artillery was first authorized in March 1819 by the Department of War. When the president or vice president visited a post, the national salute was given. Initially, this 1 gun fired for every state until 1875, when it was set at 21 guns. The 21-gun tradition originated with the British Navy practice of firing 7 guns, and the shore battery responding with 3 times that number. The idea is that the saluter places himself in the power of the saluted by emptying his guns. Today, Major General Ross E. Ridge will receive 2 ruffles, 2 flourishes, and a 13-gun salute. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the entrance of the official party and remain standing for honors, entrance of the colors, and the national anthem. Color Sergeant.
March time! March! Left turn! March! Colors, hope! Present! Who? Order! Who? Mark time. March.
Left.
Left turn. March. Colors, hope. Ready, set. Post. Present. Hold. Order. Hold. Mark time. March.
Left. Left. Left.
Left turn.
Left.
March.
Left. Left.
Forward. March.
Left. Left. Left.
Please be seated. On behalf of Major General Ross E. Ridge, Deputy Commanding General, Initial Military Training Center of Excellence, United States Training and Doctrine Command, and Senior Commander, Army Element, Fort Eustis. Welcome to Joint Base Langley Eustis's commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War Luncheon. Today, we extend a special welcome to our distinguished guests, and we would like to recognize them in order of the head tables. At Table 1, we would like to recognize Major General Ridge, Lieutenant General Dyke, Command Sergeant Major Woods, Councilwoman Scott, Colonel Knight, Mrs. Knight, Chaplain Colonel Marks, and Mrs. Marks. Table 2, Major General Whaley, Mrs. Whaley, Brigadier General Gabram, Colonel Galbraith, Command Sergeant Major Jackson, Mr. Houdin, Mrs. Houdin, and Ms. Trong. At Table 3, we would like to recognize Major General Spittler, Mrs. Helmerson, Mr. Helmerson, Mr. Brinkley, Colonel Allen, Chief Hurst, Colonel Carhuff, Mrs. Carhuff, and at Table 4, we would like to recognize Colonel Ladner, Mr. Morrow, Chief Master Sergeant Rockwell, Mr. Coons, Miss Gifford, Commander Wen, and Mrs. Wen. Today we are here to thank and honor veterans of the Vietnam War, including personnel who were held as prisoners of war or listed as missing in action for their service and sacrifice on behalf of the United States, and to thank and honor the families of these veterans. A proclamation presented by the President of the United States of America in commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War reads as follows. As we observe the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War, we reflect with solemn reverence upon the valor of a generation that served with honor. We pay tribute to the more than 3 million servicemen and women who left their families to serve bravely, a world away from everything they knew and everyone they loved. From Nha Trang to Khe Sanh, from Hue to Saigon, and countless villages in between, they pushed through jungles and rice paddies, heat and monsoons, fighting heroically to protect the ideals we hold dear as Americans. Through more than a decade of combat, over air, land, and sea, these proud Americans upheld the highest traditions of our armed forces. As a grateful nation, we honor more than 58,000 patriots, their names etched in black granite, who sacrificed all they had and all they would ever know. We draw inspiration from the heroes who suffered unspeakably as prisoners of war, yet who returned home with their heads held high. We pledge to keep the faith with those who are wounded and still carry the scars of war, seen and unseen. With more than 1,600 of our service members still among the missing, we pledge as a nation to do everything in our power to bring these patriots home. In the reflection of the wall, we see the military family members and veterans who carry a pain that may never fade. May they find peace in knowing their loved ones endure, not only in medals and memories, but in the hearts of all Americans who are forever grateful for their service, valor, and sacrifice. In recognition of a chapter in our nation's history that must never be forgotten, let us renew our sacred commitment to those who answered our country's call in Vietnam and those who awaited their safe return. Beginning on Memorial Day 2012, the federal government will partner with local governments, private organizations, and communities across America to participate in the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War, a 13-year program to honor and give thanks to a generation of proud Americans who saw our country through one of the most challenging missions we have ever faced. While no words will ever be fully worthy of their service, nor any honor truly befitting their sacrifice, let us remember that it is never too late to pay tribute to the men and women who answered the call of duty with courage and valor. Let us renew our commitment to the fullest possible accounting for those who have not returned. Throughout this commemoration, let us strive to live up to their example by showing our Vietnam veterans, their families, and all who have served the fullest respect and support of a grateful nation. Now, therefore, I, Barack Obama, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim May 28, 2012 through November 11, 2025 as the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. I call upon federal, state, and local officials to honor our Vietnam veterans, our fallen and our wounded, those unaccounted for, our former prisoners of war, their families, and all who served with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hands this 25th day of May in the year of our Lord, 2012, and the independence of the United States of America, the 236th. Signed, Barack Obama. Ladies and gentlemen, you may not have noticed at the front there is a small table, which occupies a place of dignity and honor in this room. The table is set to honor our nation's prisoners of war and missing in action. We call them comrades. They are unable to be with their loved ones and families today, so we join together to pay our humble tribute to them and bear witness to their continued absence. This table, set for one, is small, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner, alone against his or her suppressors. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to answer their country's call to arms. The single red rose signifies the blood that many have shed in sacrifice to ensure the freedom of our beloved United States of America. The vase is tied with a yellow ribbon, as this is the symbol of those who wait for their return. A slice of lemon on the bread plate is to remind us of the bitter fate of those captured and missing in a foreign land. A pinch of salt symbolizes the countless volunteers of families as they wait. The glass is inverted to symbolize their inability to share this afternoon with us. The chair is empty. They cannot be with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, let us have a moment of silence to remember our comrades. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, will all of our Vietnam War veterans please rise? gentlemen, we are honored to welcome Chaplain Colonel Lilton J. Marks, Sr., United States Army, retired. Chaplain Marks entered active duty in November 1968 as an infantry officer. Chaplain Marks served with the 24th and 25th Infantry Divisions in Vietnam. Chaplain Marks will administer the invocation and bless the food.
Thank you very much. Let us bow, please. Dear Lord, we have gathered today in this luncheon celebration for the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War, to remember a very special time in the lives of Vietnam veterans. There are those who have cared for each other and sacrificed life and limb for humanity and country. Let this occasion, O Lord, be a blessing to all here and to those who have given their lives for nation and friend. For the families, O Lord, and spouses who endured the uncertainty of return of their loved ones, we do honestly give thanks and ask your continued blessings upon them. For those families whose loved ones gave their lives, who we can never adequately or accurately express our sympathy and thanks for their loss and their sacrifice. Bless them. Now, O Lord, let old acquaintance be renewed and new acquaintance be born during this special time. Bless now our communion of food with each other, as this meal symbolized the sharing of an enduring love among like minds. Let the food strengthen us to allow those who have been through the fire to be an example for those who must carry the torches of battle for the freedom and the dignity of all of humanity. Dear Lord, this prayer is prayed for our sake and to your glory. Be with us forever. Amen.
At this time, the head tables will proceed through the food line, and all of the tables will be directed by the staff 2 at a time. Please enjoy your meal. For your listening pleasure, we have music performed by the Tradoc Woodwind Quintet under the direction of Staff Sergeant Maria Haller. Tables 1 and 2, please.
travel for to get here?
Vietnamese community in Fairfax. Because are you guys?
Yeah, we come from Fairfax, yes.
Okay, that's what I figured. So you have what, your own channel or something?
No, we got a
So what do you do down here?
Oh, I'm the historian for the transportation.
Okay, they pulling tickets. So
is 098.
I'm going now.
90.
Okay, we're going to give away another one. Okay, the last three numbers are 1, 4, 6. 1, 4, we have 3 more to give away. I'm going to mix them up. The last 3 numbers are 1, 3, 1. The next one, the last 3 numbers are 1, 2, 2. One more time, 1, 2, 2. We have a winner? Okay. The next one is 092. 092. Woo! We have a winner. I have a quick correction. The gift certificates are courtesy of the commissary and the Force Support Division. I want to make that correction. All right, so this is the last one. Everybody got their cheers ready. All right, who the winner is. The last 3 numbers are 2, 3, 2. 2, 3, 2. All right, final time. 2, 3, 2. Oh, all right, moving on to the next.
Come on, Brady, find us.
The last 3 numbers are 2, 5, 6. Woo!
That's everybody else. She will use that. That's what awesome is. That's everybody else right there. Y'all is right there. Boom. Boom. I'll tell you, this is my hand right.
It convinces from 3 lanes to 1. Never happened.
Not that I would look at it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will be starting the second part of our program. Please continue eating. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated as Chief Master Sergeant Retired Deborah Rockwell, United States Air Force, and the Joint Base Langwood Eustis Joint Color Guard present a special flag folding ceremony, Old Glory.
I am the flag of the United States of America. My name is so glowing. Oh, I fly atop the world's tallest buildings. I stand watch in America's halls of justice. Oh, I fly majestically over great institutions of learning. I stand guard with the greatest military powers in the world. Oh, just look up and see me. I stand for peace, honor, truth, and justice. I stand for freedom. I am confident. I am arrogant. Oh, but I am proud. When I'm flown with my feather banners, my head's a little higher. My colors a little truer. I bow to no one. I am recognized all over the world. I am worshipped. I am loved. Oh, but I am feared. Oh, I have fought in every battle of every war for more than 200 years. Gettysburg, Shiloh, San Juan Hill, Rome, Guam, Okinawa, Korea, Vietnam, in the Persian Gulf, Afghanistan, Iraq, and scores of places long forgotten by all those who were there with me. You see, I was there. Oh, I led my soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. I followed them and watched over them. Oh, they loved me. I was on a small hill in Iwo Jima, atop the rubble of the World Trade Center in New York City, or wrapped defiantly around a tree in New Orleans. For my head was bowed on the campus of Virginia Tech. Honor and sorrow filled my heart as I stood watching the gates of Fort Hood one more time. Oh, I know you saw me in Tucson, honoring the fallen and the brave. Oh, I stopped by Colorado and dipped my head in shame. Oh, rest in peace, little ones from Sandy Hook Elementary, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, there's a saying in Boston, we will run again. Oh, I peeked through the rubble in Oklahoma. And to my Navy comrades, all hands on deck, you rest, we got this. I was dirty, battle worn and charged, but citizens and soldiers alike cheered me and I was proud. Well, I've been sold the bonds of earth. And for my very foot in the moon, I stand by trophy, I try to keep my tears in space. Oh, I've been a silent witness to all of America's finest hours. All of the finest hours come when I'm poured in strips to be used as bandages for my wounded comrades on the field of battle. Oh, but when I fly at half-mast to honor my soldiers, my sailors, my airmen, my marines, and when I lie in the trembling arms of a breathing mother at the graveside of her fallen son or daughter, I am proud. You see, I am the flag of the United States of America. My name is Old Glory. Long may I wait.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give Chief Master Sergeant Retired Deborah Rockwell and Joint Base Langley Eustis Joint Color Guard Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Major General Ross E. Ridge.
Here today, and to be able to welcome you to this special event that recognizes the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. And more importantly, to recognize the veterans who served in that war and may not necessarily have had the greatest homecoming as they came back to the United States. But we wanted to be able to show our appreciation for what you have done, for your service, for the service of our Vietnamese-Americans who are part of our community. This is an opportunity for us, as the proclamation had indicated that was read at the very beginning of this commemoration event. For the next 15 years, it is our intent to continue to recognize the contributions of our veterans in the Vietnam War. I have a small note that I needed to pass on to you from General David Perkins, who is the U.S. Army Training and Doctrine Commander, who could not be here today, but he asked me to please forward his best wishes to you. Good afternoon and welcome to the Joint Base Langley Eustis commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War Luncheon. I apologize for not being here at JBLE for this great event, but I want to express my sincere appreciation to each Vietnam veteran for their service and to our nation. Whether drafted or enlisted, you answered your nation's call, stayed true to your oath, and deployed and served your country and returned home in honor. Today, we take time to honor each of you for your commitment to your nation. We pay tribute to you for serving bravely while a world away from everything you knew and loved. You set the example and paved the way for today's armed forces and today's service members, and for this, we are truly grateful. I wish the best for each of you and your families in the future, and God bless each of you in all your endeavors. Sincerely, General David Perkins, Commanding General, U.S. Army Training and Doctrine Command. Well, it was my honor to be able to give General Perkins' remarks to you, but it's also from my perspective as the Senior Commander, Army Element, and we have a great team here at Joint Base Langley Eustis with Colonel John Allen and his fabulous team, and Colonel Bill Galbraith, who represents and is physically here at Fort Eustis 24 hours a day. Great, thanks for everything for what you've done to be able to kick off this commemoration event. And I know that with the activities that we've had this week, with the activities that we have this evening, with the activities that we have this weekend, it will continue to be a fabulous and a memorable event, and something that we want to continue to recognize and make even better every year during this period of commemorating the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vietnam War veteran, Colonel retired Emmett F. Knight, and author of First in Vietnam.
Margie always takes care of me, and she insisted I take some water up here. Can you hear me all right? Sure. I don't mean to scare you, but I had to bring some cheat sheets with me. And I'd like to welcome the ladies, myself, and our distinguished guests. And to all of you for helping us commemorate that long, long ago war. And particularly to the Vietnam vets out there and a bunch of my old friends that have showed up in this thing. I don't want to put anybody to sleep, so this is going to be the short version. But we'll start well before 1965. We'll start in 61 and 62. They didn't give me any training aids. I got no view graphs or PowerPoint slides. You know, so I'm going to have to look down once in a while and read my notes. Let me put the year 1961 in context, because that is a long time ago. Our U-2 spy plane had been shot down over Russia, and the pilot, Gary Powers, had been captured, and that happened in 1960. The newly elected president, then John F. Kennedy, said in his 1961 inaugural address, "We'll pay any price and we'll bear any burden to defeat communism." That spring, we saw the aborted Bay of Pigs invasion of Cuba. And in the fall of 1961, the Berlin Wall was erected. The Soviet Union detonated the largest atomic device ever during that year. The Cuban Missile Crisis followed in '62. And at the same time, the Western empires were collapsing around the world. Colonialism was coming apart. The world was in its usual disarray, and the Cold War was alive and well. In my view, we're now well past the 50th year start of that war. For me, and about 450 others, it was underway well in 1961. I often think of the people that did not make it out in those early years, but I do not want to make this talk too solemn. I'm going to keep it light. But if you go visit that black wall up in Washington, D.C., their names will be there among the first entries on the wall. Most, if not all of you, know that the Transportation Corps helicopter units were the first company-sized U.S. Army outfits to go into Vietnam. The war, for me and those other guys, started on 11 December 1961 when we arrived at the port of Saigon. We were the 57th and 8th helicopter companies, along with our 3rd echelon maintenance detachments, the 98th and the 140th. And we also had small medical detachments and signal repair teams attached. We were flying CH-21C light cargo helicopters. Each company had 20 of them. Notice that I said light cargo helicopters. We were logistics outfits when we left the United States. Well, we started right out in the air assault business when we got to Southeast Asia. Probably, many of you will not remember what the old CH-21C Shawnee looked like. It was a single-engine, tandem-rotor helicopter designed by Frank Piasecki and Company, and was the forerunner of the present-day Chinook. It was 86 feet long from rotor tip to rotor tip, with an angled fuselage, which some said made it look like a flying banana. Because of the way it flew, in a kind of a circular up-down motion, the one that made the first record-setting transcontinental flight in the United States in 1955 was called Ambling Annie. that ambling could put you to sleep if no one was shooting at you. One crew chief later named his helicopter Frank Miyazaki's Practical Joke. And our Air Force friends would say that our helicopters were just trying to beat the air into a state of submission so that we could take off. But the Shawnee did the job well for a number of years before the famous Huey made the scene in Vietnam. My company, the 57th, flew to port from Fort Lewis, Washington in November of that year. A sister unit, the 8th, soon joined us in Oakland, California after completing a transcontinental flight from Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Our 57th orders were classified secret and essentially read to proceed to an overseas destination to participate in an exercise in excess of 30 days. I quote that from memory, I'll never forget it. It was a long 30 days. Our first piece of it only lasted a year, but the exercise turned out to be a war, and it lasted for about 12 more years. We deck-loaded out on USNS Core. Our helicopters were wrapped in plastic and on that old World War II Jeep transporter. It was to be a Pacific pleasure cruise for us, Army style. You know, there's not much to do on an Army pleasure cruise. There were no swimming pools, no bars, no gaming salons, no waitresses and swinging singles as shown on primetime TV. But after 22 days, we tied up at the foot of Tudo Street in the Paris of the Orient. And the citizens of Saigon must have been a little surprised when almost 40 large helicopters blasted their way at low level from the ship to the airport. I led the way down the gangplank. I wouldn't you know it, the first guy I saw was an old transporter friend of mine. He was there advising the Vietnamese on how to run ports. Naturally, I stopped, but only for a moment to say hello. Before I could get across the street, my assistant operations officer, Chief Warrant Officer Jack Carey, was sitting at the outside bar at the Majestic Hotel with a large cold glass of beer, and he said, "Where the hell have you been?" Soon the rest of the guys were flooding up the main drag. There were a number of other weird things that happened in those first few days. The matter of curfew came up that first night, and the boss wanted 2,200 hours. That's 10 p.m. civilian time. I recommended 200 hours. I noted that there had been no disciplinary actions required for a month, but I was sure that that would change tonight if curfew was too early. Eventually, we settled on midnight for everyone to be back on board. I paid for that compromise. I had to be stationed at the head of the gangplank by 11 to count the rest of them back in. One of our maintenance sergeants had come up to the gangplank twice. When he made his first trip up, he was a very happy fellow. He had no doubt tanked up on Bummy Bomb and beer, and he got a little sick. So he proceeded straight across the deck to take care of that, and whoops, right off the other side. That was about like falling off a 4-story building, but you know about God protecting fools and drunks. We fished him out of the river. He was wet, but still singing on the second try up the gangplank, and he made curfew. We lived on the ship for a few days, and then we moved into the Rex Hotel, which was being built to accommodate senior officers of the military advisory group. The Rex Hotel was really just a small shell. It had no electricity, no elevator, no water, no kitchens, just stairs and walls. We crowded 6 or more to a room in the Rex on army cots. We put blister bags on each of the floors, and a GI mess hall was established on the 10th floor roof. Some of us tried out the local cuisine. We found a place we called Cheap Charlie's. They served great chicken soup. At least it tasted just like chicken. We hung a Jeep radio on the balcony of the hotel so we could talk to the airfield. And since our Jeeps were not yet licensed, we strapped on our .45 caliber pistols and flight gear and then caught a little blue and white Renault taxi to go to war. 10 days after our arrival, we flew the first combat assault in Vietnam on 23 December 1961. We had 30 helicopters from both companies participating. An Army intelligence team had located a Viet Cong radio transmitter which was broadcasting about 10 miles west of Saigon. Our job was to lift the troops of the Airborne Brigade, to attack the VC where the radio had been located. Intelligence said that the radio identified the Viet Cong headquarters for the Saigon Military District. They expected it to be protected by a reinforced rifle company with weapons up to and including a 50 caliber machine gun. My boss, the commander of the 57th, was Major Robert J. Dillard. Because I had led the planning for the Hellborn assault, he also let me fly the lead helicopter. Naturally, I shared the cockpit with the most accomplished and experienced pilot that I could find. That was Chief Warrant Officer Benny B. Potts. Although we did get shot at, and we lost the helicopter that day, this could not really have been a combat assault, of course, because we weren't even supposed to be there. Our presence in Vietnam was still classified. That first mission was called a great success. The Army was able to catch the enemy by surprise. They routed the VC company and put the radio out of business, at least for a while. And that mission set the stage for later heliborne operations in Vietnam. I've got to tell you, though, that I accompanied a combat assault into those same pineapple fields where we flew the first time 5 years after that. Nobody had occupied the ground. It didn't seem like we had made much progress in 5 years. There were some other weird things that happened I want to tell you about. A lot of them, actually. Can't tell you about all of them. But rushing to get there was kind of peculiar because when we got there, nobody seemed to want us. We orbited out in the South China Sea for 3 days before we were given diplomatic clearance to enter Vietnamese waters and come up the Saigon River. We couldn't operate our vehicles until they were licensed by the Vietnamese. We had all had to spend hours lined up to be issued U.S. passports. The captain of the ship needed to depart to get to his next port of call, and our people were still stacked 6 high, sweltering in the hot, humid air below decks. We had to fight the MAG headquarters to even get off the boat. They said that we could live in our helicopters. I was with the boss one day when he went to see the colonel in charge of MAG billeting to ask if we couldn't move into the Rex Hotel for just a few days until tents could be erected out at the airfield, Don Sanu. Our major had about had it with all the falderall by that time, but he was polite until the colonel said, "Damn it, the hotel is being built for MAG officers and there is no way that I can allow any soldiers to stay in it." Major Dillard then stood up and said, "Okay, we are moving into the Rex tomorrow." And we moved the following day. Before that got too bad, I had to leave the room because I could tell that the conversation was getting violent. It was about to degenerate. While all this was going on, we were flying every day. We were putting up 6 ships for a variety of missions. On those days, we weren't flying combat assaults. And we averaged one of those at least twice a week, flying every ship we could get up. Our cover story had been to provide transportation for flood relief operations. There had been a little more than usual water overflowing the banks of the Mekong River, so we did distribute some rice. And we hauled some other cargo, but mostly we carried South Vietnamese troops into combat assaults for the next year. During 1962, we were joined by several other aviation units. The 45th Battalion headquarters was deployed to control the companies as they came in. The 93rd came over from Fort Devens, Massachusetts in early '62. It was followed shortly by the 33rd from Fort Ord. The 81st Helicopter Company came in from Hawaii, and they joined the 57th and the 8th, making it 5 Army transportation helicopter companies in country. One company was stationed in support of each of the Army Corps areas. That's a big area for any single company to try to support. The 18th Otter and the 1st Caribou companies, fixed-wing companies, were also operating all over the country before the end of that year. Until that time, U.S. advisors had chosen to ride in the lead jeep, along with the Army commander. The Viet Cong knew that this was the case, that's where they'd find them. And since they were trying to avoid causing American casualties that time, for fear of increased U.S. involvement, they would normally key their ambush on the 2nd or 3rd vehicle in the convoy. This time they set off a command-detonated 105mm shell under the lead jeep, where the tall, blonde American was easily identified. Things had changed. The VC were now going to start targeting U.S. military individuals on purpose. But within a few months, our tour was over. Our turtles had arrived and we were headed home. About the last day that I went out to fly, a new crew chief was standing by the helicopter. It was a PFC. Aviation mechanics were already in short supply, but it was still unusual to find a private assigned as a crew chief. I walked out to the helicopter, kicked a tire, and I asked, will this damn thing fly? And the private took a brace, saluted, while saying, I don't know, sir. So I took a closer look at the airplane. Like most aviators in those days, including most of the old-timers here today, and like many other soldiers as well, I made a couple more trips to Vietnam. One in 66, 67, when things were really cranking up. One in 69, looked like maybe we were getting under control. We could travel the roads at night in some places. The GIs at headquarters said the only priority requisitions going out were for whitewash and grass seed. But it took a few more years to end it, didn't it? And I'm sure that most of you have your own tales to tell about your time under the guns. Of course, these would probably be set in the deserts or the mountains of the Middle East rather than the rice paddies and jungles of Southeast Asia. Or maybe it would be Panama or Haiti or Grenada or some other garden spot in the world. The Vietnam War didn't really get started with the large-scale introduction of U.S. ground forces until then in 1965. But the advisory years before that were not just a walk in the park either. It was just before Christmas of December 1961 that I will always remember as the start of the Vietnam War. And I have written a book about it. The title is First in Vietnam. I was reluctant to call it that. Everybody is the first of everything. And I blame that on my wife, Margie, who said you need a nice short title for a book. And our son, Richard, a retired Lieutenant Colonel Richard, Army, who designed the cover. The book is about the 57th and the U.S. Army Helicopter Company, and since it is from my mental attic, it is also about the time I spent serving with them. There are a lot of stories like the one that I've talked about here today, and there are also a few personal observations about the conduct of the war. If anyone is interested, Colonel Bill Galbraith and his folks have provided a table where I will be standing by to sign books. And I will also be happy to answer any questions that you might have at that time. I would like to thank General Ridge, Colonel Galbraith, the staffs, the club for putting on a great lunch, and my POC, Mr. Carl Williams, for getting this all organized and inviting me to speak here. As one old retired soldier, I thank you all for all that you have done when your country, for your country, when it was your turn to do it. And thanks for listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Trade-Off Woodwind Quintet will perform songs from the Vietnam era, Yesterday, and Ballad of the Green Berets. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vietnam War veteran, Mr. Dong Hu Dinh, Chairman and President of the Vietnamese-American community of Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia.
John Reach, William Goldberg. I would like to convey my sincere thanks, for inviting us to come over here, my wife and I, as well as our TV crew of the team of three. It's really nice to be here and be a guest speaker. It's really an honor for us. Well, I remember back in 1975, when we first came after the fall of Vietnam from Saigon. It was April, and when we come here, the whole Vietnam was in chaos. The whole country, people started to leave, and everyone was, really trying to look for a place to go. People are running from communism, but first of all, they want to be free and still continue the fight, not living just like giving up. When I came to California, the first things building up was from an US Air Force airplane in Travis Air Force Base. I think it was in 09 of April 29. And the Travis Air Force Base commander at the time, he welcomed us. But the day after, when we learned about Saigon has capitulated, he said, the South Vietnamese government doesn't exist anymore. You have to leave, you have to go. That's really a shame. Since we come over here, we need, just like great with open arms by the military, and then they said that we have to go. Well, Camp Pendleton just being set up. We think that we can go over there, but no, I think that's, I don't prefer to go to Camp Pendleton. I think I want to leave the country because there's no way to quit, a former ally like that. And we're now, people in San Francisco, and the American people greet us with open arms. It's really great. I don't think that's, we can find that anymore. And I was invited to come to a Lion Club to talk about the situation in Vietnam at that time. People listened to us. I thought it would be just like, American GI would come home, be great badly. But in the contrary, they create us with just like open arms, with love, with affection. That's why I think that's something really great. Politics and administration are completely different from the American people. This love, this affection, is really, really something that I decided to stay. And that's there when I talk, I explain about the situation, why we're going to find more. From just like full power, full resource in 71, and suddenly in 73, starting down was to 75 with Vietnamese-Asian, with the cessation of all aid. Every time we had to go fight, we had to buy hand grenades from the rear in order to fight. When you call for artillery support, you don't reach, that when we call it for a battery, when you ask for just like some DOT 5, something like that, you get more than 6 rounds. By the time we only want 1 round for every operation that we have to go through. It was really sad, but in 75, we have people from the South Vietnam and South Vietnam government to ask for some more help. We're waiting the Congress day after day, month after month, just for $200 million not to come over. And then we have to stop fighting. That's something really sad. Just like, Chai went coming home during that time. And I still remember, back in 1971, after that Kent State incident, they get some killed. The US government sent over to Vietnam 2 university student leaders to come and observe what's going on in Vietnam. Why do we have to fight over there? And what is going on? Those 2 Vietnamese student leaders, I don't know how, but when they come over, we have to take them to a place where they can observe by their own eyes a liberate region. It was in Kinh Hoa province at the time, and the region was controlled by the Viet Cong. And there was a famous Viet Cong female leader by the name of Nguyen Thi Dinh, who later became general after the end of the war. I think she was present something personally in Vietnam in the 90s. When those two university student leaders come to Vietnam, I was sent by our government and by Macbeth to lead those two guys to the liberated area. And it was in a free fire zone, and no one is coming with us. We have one Viet Cong with Johnny who lead the way to come and see the liberated area. And driving us, we don't have any kind of insertion like, helicopters or like gunship, to cover us. We just go by means of road. And the road under those conditions are really bad because it's pretty fire zone. And those two students and I went on a, if you have been in Vietnam, you know about those tricycle motorbike that they call the lamp over there, the lambretta. The driver of that lambretta was rural development cadres, and we have a Viet Cong attorney who guide us into the region. And when we come over there, we've been greeted by two female Viet Cong soldiers. And those two Viet Cong soldiers, if some of you know about the 9th Infantry Division's been there, they know how they operate in guerrillas, and they are just like swim sappers. They create a lot of opportunity to our force. And they took us into the region, to the hamlet. What they see is a cemetery for guerrilla and main force fighting to die. It was nothing. They lapidate, things, just like some kind of tombs and nothing. They took us into the village, and inside the village was nothing. Even no people on, just like in the countryside, you should see one kind of cows or hens or whatever, chickens and stuff like that. Nothing. It was completely, just like, it's not deserted, but still, people can live there under such condition. The student leader then realized that there's nothing liberating. There's just like no two sides, nothing at all. And since then, we start to get out of the country and get out of the zone. Helicopter to come and pick us up. But I can see that whatever they did for our GI who came home, it was really bad. The student leader did come by themselves to see with their own eyes how the country was. It was really sad that the administration didn't follow whatever they have to do at the time. We had to suffer. But thanks for the American people who create us, who give us an opportunity to live, to make ourselves going into the mainstream, be what we are now. Thank you very much for having us. And just like, thank you. That's all I can say.
Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel William S. Galbraith, Commander, 733rd Mission Support Group, Joint Base Langley, Eustis, will give his remarks and present certificates of appreciation to our honored guests.
Thank you. Hey, I could not ask for a better celebration than what we have today. This is phenomenal. I will tell you, I want to personally quickly thank a few folks that rocked in this, and that's Carlton Williams, Grady Hamilton, and also the staff here that put this, the club staff here that put it all together. Phenomenal. Just a little quote from an artist, a dream you dream alone is just a dream, but a dream you dream together, it becomes a reality. And I had a vision of gathering Vietnam veterans from all services, Vietnamese and U.S. forces, and bring them together and have a Vietnam-era Veterans Bond. embracing each other and talking about old times and sharing some new. Whether you were a special operator or an infantryman, like Lieutenant General Dykes, Mr. Houdin, and Reverend Marks, if you're an aviator, like Mr. Knight, logistics, Major General Whaley, EOD, like Mike Coons, an adjutant general, such as Mr. Kharkov, or even his spouse, like Mrs. Kharkov. You are now living history. It is now your time to talk to the soldiers, sailors, the airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, and DoD civilians. Share your story. Come up with a new connection, for there is a common bond between us. I thank you all for coming.
At this time, will Colonel Retired Lilton J. Marks Sr., Colonel Retired Emmett F. Knight, Mr. Don Houdin, and Chief Master Sergeant Retired Deborah Rockwell please join Colonel Galbraith at the front. For outstanding participation during the 4th Eustis 50th Anniversary Vietnam War Commemoration, May 15, 2015. You served your country with valor and honor, and the contributions you made improved the quality of life for all Americans. We are grateful for your sacrifice and thank you for your service to our great country.
Thank you for traveling all the way down here. Lovely wife being here too. Oh, it chills going down my spine. Thank you, ma'am, so much. That's beautiful.
Sir, request permission to retire the colors.
Retire the colors.
Colors, post. Mark time. March. Right turn. March. Colors. Hold. Reset. Hold. Order. Hold. Ready. Set. Ready. Up. Off time. March. Left turn. March. Over. March.
gentlemen, thank you for attending today's luncheon. Please enjoy the rest of our Vietnam commemoration events and take time to review the displays in the building and in the parking lot. Colonel retired Emmett F. Knight, author of First in Vietnam, will be selling and signing his book in the lobby as you depart. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we would like to extend our appreciation to the Fort Eustis Club staff and the Joint Base Langley Eustis Joint Color Guard for their outstanding assistance with our luncheon. Tomorrow we will be having an abundance of activities. Tomorrow we will be having an abundance of activities and entertainment. The events kick off at 0800 tomorrow morning with a golf tournament, followed by Veteran Appreciation Day at the Commissary in PX, a 7th Transportation Brigade Expeditionary 3rd Port reunion, opening ceremony for Special Services Salute to Vietnam veterans at Murphy Field. There will be a children's run, a car show, storytelling by vets, museum static display, face painting, blow-ups, fashion show, cornhole tournament, and 3 bands. Please pick up a flyer with times and places on the table on your way out. And again, thank you for coming to our luncheon.
Kính thưa quý vị, ngày hôm nay có một cái buổi tiệc mà để khoản đãi những người cựu chiến binh. Thật ra thì cũng có rất đông cựu chiến binh và những người hiện đang phục vụ trong quân lực Hoa Kỳ. Thưa quý vị, ở tại Fort Eustis và với cái sự mà hai cái cơ quan bên phía về lục quân và bên phía không quân họ đã họp nhau lại để tổ chức một cái buổi tiệc hôm nay. Nói tiệc thì cũng không đúng, là một buổi lễ để tưởng nhớ lại và để kỷ niệm 50 năm người Mỹ đã tham gia vào trong chiến tranh Việt Nam. Thưa quý vị, và bây giờ mời quý vị nghe một vài phút nói chuyện với lại người mà đã đứng ra để lo cái tổ chức cho cái buổi hôm nay, đó là Colonel Galbraith. Hi, Colonel.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
I'm glad to see you again.
It's nice to see you too at another occasion.
It is very wonderful today, and I see a lot of people here, veterans and in all the military people still in service. And can you tell us about how you prepare this and what the reason why it have to have a commemoration event today?
Yes, ma'am. The President decreed that there will be a commemoration for the service and support of Vietnam veterans. And what we wanted to do here on Fort Eustis was make it really special by intermingling United States forces as well as South Vietnamese forces together again, as they can talk about old times and give some lessons learned to the young soldiers, sailor, airmen, and Marines here on Fort Eustis.
Why at the Fort Eustis, not from other?
I think everywhere should be doing it, but I know that Fort Eustis has a great community of Vietnamese in the Hampton Road areas, and it's a great way for folks to listen to the plight of the Vietnamese people that had to leave their country after 1975 and then come to the United States and set up anew. So there's a lot of great stories to be told, and I got to know quite a few of them, like yourself, over the last couple of months, and then we decided to tie something together here in commemoration of the Vietnam conflicts and try to do a salute to the veterans, no matter what country you came from.
So how do you feel when you see people around here in the different generation and different, in 40, 50 years? And I think it's more than 50 years.
Yes, ma'am. What's unique about the military is no matter what era you're in, you still go through the same trials and tribulations. Families have the same woes and worries of loved ones. And so it spans generations. And so what happened 40, 50 years ago with the Vietnamese era or Vietnam era folks is happening again now with the Afghanistan and Iraq generation. So there's still loss. There's still some pain and suffering going on, as well as good camaraderie between service members that bond because of that harsh time that they went through.
You know, there is, I think that the number of 16,000 of the soldiers still is missing. So do you have any idea about that?
What limited I do know about it is science and technology, the way we can look at now DNA. We seem to be finding more and more, or repatriating more and more remains back to the United States or back to the Vietnamese government. So it's amazing that we can find the remains of a lost service member, and then go through a technical slew of diagnosis, I don't know, but nonetheless finding out exactly who that person belonged to, and then we can make a family back here in the United States feel more comfortable that they know that their loved one finally came home.
Some families still thinking that someday they will come back.
Yeah, yes, and it gives closure to the families, and that's what's warming to the soul.
Well, will you do it again next year? You have the commitment that every year until the year of
2025. Yes, ma'am. Next year we'll be doing it, but we'll do it on Langley Air Force Base. So that way we can, because we are a joint base between Langley and Eustis, and next year is also the centennial of Langley Air Force Base. So there's going to be a huge air show, and we're already starting plans to get Vietnam veterans to participate in the commemoration next year in May of 16.
So that commemoration, so in 3 days here today, I mean here in the space, 2 or 3 days?
It's a 2-day event. So we have tomorrow, it's going to be on Murphy Field at Fort Eustis, music, vendors, as well as food. And there's going to be at the port a tour of the Fort Eustis ports, as well as golf scrambles and different types of event to get the people together and talking, getting the community together.
Oh, that's good. Hope that next year we will be.
Yes, ma'am. I'll invite you. I promise. I'll be here. So.
Thank you very much, Colonel.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Kính thưa quý thính giả, ở trong cái Officer Club này có một cái museum, một cái viện bảo tàng nhỏ nhưng mà để trưng bày những cái quần áo, cũng tất cả như những cái dụng cụ, những gì mà thuộc về chiến tranh. Thưa quý vị, và cái người mà director of cái museum này là David. And, thưa quý vị, mời quý vị nghe một vài phút nói chuyện với David. Hi, David.
Hello, how are you?
Okay, I'm fine, thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, as you said, I'm the director of the museum here at Fort Eustis. This is the Army Transportation Museum. This used to be the home of Army Transportation Corps. And I've been here with the museum since 9/11, since September 11th, 2001. I'm also a military veteran. I've been in the Army for 30 years. Yeah, and just retiring pretty much as we speak after 30 years. And like I said, I've been here at the museum first as a curator and been a director since 2005.
So it means that you was not in Vietnam War.
I was not.
But you heard a lot of it.
Oh, very much so. I've been a military historian all my life, if you will, and I was actually involved with the Vietnam Project for many years, my younger years. And as an Army aviator, I was trained by Vietnam veteran pilots, which was a great thing. And so, yeah, I've been around my Vietnam veteran brethren for pretty much my entire life.
30 years in military.
Thank you. So
now
I went in when I was 4. No, I'm kidding.
I wish.
Yeah, so do I.
Now I see a lot of the uniform here, and we all kind of stuff here for the military. Can you tell us about that and about this museum?
Sure. Well, first about the exhibit that you see here today, being that it's a Vietnam War commemoration event, we wanted to put together an exhibit that highlighted the service of the Vietnam War period. And so everything that we have here is related to that period in Vietnam. And it's kind of a cross mix of U.S. Army, we have U.S. Navy, U.S. Marine Corps, U.S. Air Force pieces here, and from the entire 10-year span of our involvement in Vietnam. So we tried to get it as much of a cross mix as we could here so people could identify with something here in the exhibit. Actually, a lot of what you see here is privately owned by myself and our historian. Because we have a lot of stuff in our own private collection, so we brought that over as well. The museum itself here at Fort Eustis is a very large museum. We cover 6 acres of ground, have over 35,000 square foot of galleries, covering the history of Army transportation from the 1770s clear up to current wars in Iraq and Afghanistan.
So you mean transportation, that means included the equipment and all the vehicles?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. From the early stages, back horse-drawn wagons and things like that, clear up to including trains, boats.
Outside somewhere in the space when we massed.
Yeah, when you drove on post, you drove right by the museum. You saw the train yard, you saw the airplanes and helicopters out front, and the big boats. But we have it all over there, yeah.
Is there any that uniform here belong to someone already deceased?
All of these belong to somebody. We try to have a personal history of everybody of the uniforms we have. There's nobody here that wore any of these uniforms. There's folks here, including your VIP guest speaker, who served under one of the gentlemen whose uniform I have here. Yeah. And that's always great. When you see a personal connection with folks that come and look at your exhibits, that just makes it all the better. So
the museum here, and then after this commemoration, then you move back to the museum or stay here?
Today, we'll be moving everything for tomorrow's event because tomorrow is yet another day 2 of this commemoration over at Murphy Field. So we'll be setting up these exhibits, plus the things that you saw outside here when you walked inside, the Jeep and the helicopter and stuff.
I saw the helicopter in front of the officer
Right,
club.
right. We're moving all that over to Murphy Field today, so it'll be there tomorrow, and then we'll move everything back over to the museum when it's open.
Operation of hours in the museum, if people want to come to see.
Yeah, and thanks for asking. The museum is open 6 days a week to the public. The only day it's closed are Mondays. It's open Tuesday through Sunday, and it's open from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. every day.
But the people open to the public, if people want to come to see it, what do they need to do?
Being on a military installation, anybody that's over the age of 18 in the vehicle just has to have a photo ID. Other than that, when you pull up to the gate, as with anybody else coming on, you got to have a valid license, registration for your car, and proof of insurance. Just tell them you're coming to see the museum, and you'll be allowed. It's free to get in. We like to tell people we let you in for free, but we may charge you to get out. but no, it's free admission, and we work by donations that go to our foundation. But yeah, it's free admission to come on in.
Thank you very much for all information.
Thank you. I'll actually talk about both of these jackets simultaneously. These are souvenir jackets that were very popular with American servicemen when they were getting ready. Sure.
Can you hold it so I can hold it up? No, you hold it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
And I hold this up. Let's see. Oops, sorry.
Yep, no worries.
This is the map of the Vietnam. See?
Right, and again, this particular type of jacket was very popular with the servicemen as a souvenir jacket, and all of them normally had some kind of form of the map of Vietnam and some kind of saying or unit affiliation or things like this. This particular jacket was made out of it was a poncho liner. This was an issue poncho liner to keep you warm, and they would take it to a tailor downtown and have it sewn into a jacket, and then they could put some kind of lining or something like very light, but it would keep you warm and repel some of the water. But it says, when I die, I'll go to heaven because I've spent my time in hell, Dong Ha, Vietnam. And that saying is actually a kind of a historical saying for GIs from World War II. They said that in World War II in the Pacific Theater, and it had just carried over through the wars and things like that. So, yeah. Sure.
Anything else you want us to know?
These uniforms.
That's Long Binh.
Yeah.
Here again.
Sure, no worries.
That's a Long Binh Air Base.
Again, this was the other kind of very popular souvenir jacket. Was the satin souvenir embroidered jackets, and they again, most of them all would have a map of Vietnam, and they would list out the areas that they had served and the period that they had served in. So.
Is that just display? If people want to buy that, do you have any?
No, not like that. These are these are just for display. Yeah, we don't sell anything like that. The military uniforms that you see here vary. Again, the camouflage uniforms here are what we call tiger stripes. It was a camouflage pattern that was unique to Vietnam.
That's a
Yeah, oh, sure. Yeah, the web gear, we call it the web gear, the canteens, 1-quart canteens. These are the ammunition pouches that would carry your clips for your M16s. This is actually a strobe light, and that was for marking if helicopters are coming in and trying to find you, especially at night. You could turn on that strobe light, and it would blink, and they'd be able to find you and locate you to pick you up. Yeah. Before the age of cell phone, yeah, we had to use the old-fashioned styles, things like that. Some of the other camouflage uniforms you see here, these two uniforms here, this one and this one, you'll see that it says Mike Force. U.S. Special Forces, the Green Beret in Vietnam, they didn't have enough folks to man every base in Vietnam heavily, so they would create a team that would be led by Special Forces but manned by South Vietnamese soldiers, and they would call them a mobile strike force. So if any base came under attack, they could take that mobile strike force, put them in helicopters, and fly them out there to reinforce the unit. So they were called Mike Forces, and these are two uniforms, both of an American officer in the Special Forces and of a South Vietnamese Special Forces soldier that both served.
The name of Vietnamese here. That's a Vietnamese name.
Yeah, absolutely. So he was a Vietnamese striker working with the Special Forces. The patch on here was specific to a Special Forces operation that went deep behind the lines in certain areas. So
Very interesting.
yeah,
They work together.
absolutely, especially with the Special Forces. This uniform here is a different style camouflage pattern that was popular in Vietnam. This particular one here was used by the U.S. Marine Corps. That was their standard camouflage fatigue uniform for U.S. Marines throughout Vietnam. The Army and the Air Force used it as well, but it was very popular with the U.S. Marine Corps. So this is an M16. This was a standard assault weapon for U.S. forces. Sure, this is not a real M16. Not that heavy. There you go. What do you think?
I can hold this.
See, there you go.
But I don't know how to shoot.
That's okay. That's okay. They get mad.
M16.
Yeah, it's called an M16. It's an assault rifle. It was made to be more lightweight than the older style weapons. Yeah. The uniform that's right above it, it was a U.S. advisor in the early stages of our effort in Vietnam. He was an aviator, a pilot, signed with the 101st Airborne, but he was sent over to Vietnam to serve as an advisor to South Vietnamese forces. That's airborne. Yeah. These are his airborne wings. This is his pilot wings, his aviator wings.
They fly more hours than they get this, and there is something else on this too.
Yeah, this is the basic pilot wing, and depending on how many hours you had, once you've increased your hours, you would get a star, and then even more hours, you'd have a wreath that would go around the star. Right. And he also qualified with South Vietnamese jump wings.
Yeah, I see this.
Yeah. Again, these types of uniforms you see here is the basic jungle uniforms that everyone's familiar with the U.S. soldier in Vietnam. That's our steel helmet, our helmet. You see the graffiti on there. And again, that was very popular for the GIs. Oh yeah, it's heavy. You need a little bit of weight to it since it's there to try to protect your head from shell fragments and bullets and the like. These are actually rations. These were our meals that we ate during Vietnam. These were called the C rations. Correct. And today we have what's called an MRE, but these are what we had back then. And what the soldiers would do, because they didn't want to carry these bulky cardboard boxes, and plus when you would get wet, the cardboard would disintegrate and fall apart. So what they do is they take the cans out of the C rations, they would just put them into a sock, and they would tie it onto their gear or whatever like that, and that way they could...
Okay, so all the racing in here?
Right.
Oh, okay. Just for one person?
Mm-hmm.
For how long?
It depends. Just depends on how hungry you are, how long you're eating, and how long you're out for. So, yep. Yep.
And then another.
Yeah, this is what's called an M79. This is a grenade launcher.
M79.
Yes, an M79. This is a grenade launcher, and here you can hold that. What you would do, this is a replica. It's not a real one, but you would turn this knob here. This would open up like a shotgun. You would slide the round into the barrel.
Oh,
shut it, lock it, and then you would just aim it and you pull the trigger and it would shoot out a grenade round. It's
oh,
a 40
okay.
millimeter grenade
Oh, that's
round.
why it's open and large here.
Right.
Yeah.
It shoots a large grenade round.
No, I learned a lot about this. Before I didn't know anything else.
The stages
That's a
of
cranberry, yes.
Right. And just by the way the uniform is made, we know that he was over there during the early period, in the early 1960s as an advisor, Special Forces advisor.
That's the boot. I just feel very, when look through that thing and what the soldier been through, and then my heart ache because yes, and then someone they don't.
Well, it works both ways.
Yeah.
A lot of folks that hated to leave because they didn't think the job was done, and they made a lot of friends and folks with their South Vietnamese counterparts, and they didn't like leaving them either.
Yeah.
So,
I know.
yep.
Okay. Anything else I want to say?
With the dress uniforms here.
There's a uniform.
Yeah, these are just the various types of dress uniforms that. These are just the various types of dress uniforms that our guys would wear during that time frame from the.
For the ceremony or
right,
something?
for more formal occasions.
Okay.
The tan summer uniform. This is a formal dress white uniform, and this is the standard Class A uniform. This uniform here happened to be worn by a gentleman retired as a 2-star general, a major general. This was his uniform as a 1-star. But in Vietnam, he was a colonel, and he commanded 5th Special Forces Group in 1968, 1969 in Vietnam. So.
I want to see the pilot over there. Pilot. Oh, you're a pilot too. Okay, but there's no flying suit.
That's the flight suit.
Yeah, that flying suit.
Time frame.
That's flying suit, yeah, and that hat, yeah. I can recognize that because my husband was in the Air Force. He was the commander of helicopter squadron.
Okay, great.
And he passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, yeah, what you see here, a couple different variations. This was a U.S. Army helicopter pilot's uniform. Again, our Army pilots flew variations, either the one-piece flight suit, the two-piece Nomex flight suit, or just the standard jungle fatigues. This is the two-piece Nomex flight suit. This particular pilot flew Scout helicopters, like you see in the photograph down there. That is the unit that this guy flew with.
I was in there. I took a lot of picture at the tank farm.
Okay.
So
yeah.
they let me in there.
Nice, nice. Yeah. This is actually a jungle fatigue of a U.S. Air Force pilot. This is the jungle fatigue of a U.S. Navy enlisted soldier, and this is the uniform of an Air Force pilot. This particular uniform, the jacket,
I wonder what's this.
Yeah, we had a unit in Vietnam, the 4th Air Commandos. It was U.S. Air Force Special Operations Unit, and they flew gunships. We call them AC-47 gunships. It was an old twin-engine transport planes that were converted in that had several guns, machine guns on the side of it, and it could lay down a whole lot of fire. And so when we had a base that was under attack or anything like that, a lot of times they would call in what they would call spooky. That was the call sign for the gunships. But the ships themselves were called Puff the Magic Dragon. It's a classic American song from that time frame. And because of all the bullets it would shoot out, it would look like fire coming out of the side of the airplane. So they called it Puff the Magic Dragon. So this was one of the pilots of one of those spooky gunships. So this is the fire-breathing dragon representing Puff the Magic Dragon of the gunships.
I see. David, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely.
And we learned
My
a
pleasure.
lot.
Thank you.
Maybe next time we'll learn more over the
Yeah,
museum.
there you go. Yeah, I'd love to have you. Love to have you. Thank you.